Hello, fellow weirdos. We are back with another weird Bible stories with Pastor Pam. But since this Saturday is Halloween, we're taking a little bit of a spooky twist. So get ready for a spooky Bible story with Pastor Pam. This week's weird and frankly spooky story comes from the book of Ezekiel, and in it, the prophet has a vision of the walking dead. In Ezekiel 37, God gives the prophet a vision. In this vision, Ezekiel finds himself in a valley full of bones. There were countless bones in this valley, and all of them were very dry. So they had been there for some time. God speaks to Ezekiel, saying, "Mortal, can these bones live?" Now, Ezekiel is no dummy. So his response is that only God knows the answer to that. So God says, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, 'O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord God to these bones, I will cause breath to enter you, and you shall live. I will lay sinews on you, and will cause flesh to come upon you, and will cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord." Ezekiel does what God commands, and he starts to hear something. There was a rattling sound, and the bones began coming together. Then muscle began to cover the bones, and skin covered that, but there was no breath in the newly reformed bodies. God told Ezekiel, "Prophesy to the breath, prophesy, mortal, and say to the breath, 'Thus says the Lord God, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live.'" Again, Ezekiel did what God commanded, and breath came into the bodies, and they lived. God tells Ezekiel that the bones are the house of Israel. They had turned away from God and had died a spiritual death, and in exile, many had physically died as well. This vision of Ezekiel's recalls the story of creation, the story in Genesis chapter 2, the creation of humans. And that particular telling of the creation story, God creates humans out of the dirt, and the breath of the Spirit enters them. Since then, humanity has rebelled, resulting in death. Through Ezekiel's vision, God promises a spiritual resurrection for God's chosen people. God promises to recreate humanity, breathing new life into them and remaking us into a people who live in relationship with God and with others. Thanks be to God. Thanks for joining me this Halloween week. I hope that you all have a safe and happy holiday this Saturday, and I will see you next week, my fellow weirdos.